Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. Our study follows a 96-week cycle that begins with the cover page and continues through page 164. Along the way, we revisit spiritual experience in Appendix 2 3 times. And we also cover To the Employers, To the Wives, Dr. Bob's Nightmare, and the 12 Traditions before we start the cycle again. We are now in our 6th year using this format, and we're grateful that you're here to be a part of it. My name is Shayna, and I am a recovered alcoholic.
And my name is Trish, and I am a recovered alcoholic.
Now, before we begin, please be aware that the first 90 minutes of this meeting will be recorded in audio only for our website, podcast, and YouTube channel. If you missed the study portion, you can listen to it online. Study pages will also be listed. Be sure to check out the information posted in the chat throughout the meeting. Any announcements for the Greater of AA or this group?
I have one, and I would like to wish everybody a happy Zoomiversary, because yesterday was our 6th anniversary on Zoom as a Zoom meeting. So happy Zoomiversary, everybody.
I have one, Sheila, alcoholic, and that is little Jamie, who's pretty newbie, but already getting wiser every day. Is actually taking Donald's Pershing meeting over, and then we've had like 3 or 4 people coming. Some support would be really nice. It's 9:00 tomorrow night Eastern Standard Time. And I'll post the link on the chat. It would be nice to have some support. It's a nice little share and open topic discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheila.
I'll send that in there for you, Sheila.
Thank you.
And Shayna, you're still on. Did I lose you? Okay, tonight's recap will start on page 60, where it says the first requirement is, and will end on page 62, where it says we had to have God's help, and that will be read by Joanne. And tonight's study will begin on page 62, where it says this is the how and why of it, and will end on page 63. An effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once, and that will be read by Nikki. And please take a moment to settle in and get comfortable. We do take our big book study seriously, and we want everyone to feel present and connected as we begin.
I know where to begin, but where does it end for me on 62?
It's in the chat. As we move into the study, please help us maintain a peaceful environment. Be mindful of background noise when you're unmuted. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And please stay muted during other people's shares. And when we come to the sharing portion, we will call on hands in the order that they are raised.
Ready, sir, go?
Not yet. Hold on. Shayna, you there?
No, she's not. I'm guessing she's chasing kids. So hang on just a second. Let me get it pulled up.
Oh, she's back.
Okay, she's back.
We had a code brown. It was an interesting situation. Okay. I do apologize.
From the forward to the first edition, Shayna.
Yes, thank you. From the forward to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group. For the meditation, focus on breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self. Take this time to reconnect with God and release the day. And how about those monks?
They are coming.
All right, let's go ahead and have our fog light prayer.
God,
Are you going to read that for or Trish? I'm sorry.
God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those who are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen. And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Steph. Where are you? Wave your hand.
I'm muted. Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I have asked Donald to read the recovered statement to explain why many in this group identify as recovered. Take it away, Donald.
Good evening, everyone. I am Gandalf the Red Pickle, and this is why we are recovered versus recovering. And we are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered, but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. We know we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23. We are now saying where alcohol is concerned. So consequently, we have recovered. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. We meet every Tuesday, 5:30 Central Time Fellowship. The Big Book study starts at 6:30, and we will disable chat during that time so that we can focus. And some stats from the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a big book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic. The success rate was as followed. From the forward to the second edition, 50% got sober at once, 25% sobered up after some relapses, the remainder improved. Do we have any first-time visitors?
We do.
Raise your hand,
We
please,
got a few.
if you'd like to.
We do. We have Dennis, welcome, and we have Nikki, and we have Melanie, and Allison, and
Maybe Sarah and Catherine also.
okay, welcome everyone. Glad to have you.
Awesome. I'm so glad y'all are here. Good place to be. And recovered alcoholics, raise your hand. These are your potential sponsors. Is anybody celebrating a milestone this week they'd like to share with us? Nobody? Out of all of these people, nobody's got a milestone. That means no birthday cake.
Darn.
But the group does, as Trish said, 6 years
Yes.
was our anniversary yesterday.
6 years. It's awesome. Okay, if you need a big book, we can send a large print copy. Please let one of us know by chat after the meeting. And please practice the seventh tradition using the links in the chat. We encourage you to get a big book and work with an untreated alcoholic. Thank you, and Lord willing, I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Steph.
From There is a Solution, we have discovered a common solution, a way out on which we can absolutely agree. This is an open meeting and everyone is welcome. You are not required to identify yourself, and your anonymity, just like ours, will always be protected. The group is for those who want to recover from alcoholism and have the desire to stop drinking for good and all. We also believe that every AA member is a potential sponsor, and we encourage each of us to take that responsibility to heart.
All right, and now it is time for our traditions. Last week we reviewed tradition 11. Tonight we will read tradition 12, found on page 562. Come on in, Jamie. You are muted.
I forget about that because I'm always unmuted. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and in all the years in this group, this is the first time that I have been able to do the traditions for you. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be the traditionalist for the last 12 weeks. It really has been a joy. Tradition 12, the short form. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. And our long form. And I love the long form. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are to actually practice a genuine humility, this to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall ever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. Don't you stop it. So, I've been around Alcoholics Anonymous a long time. And I can remember getting sober and hearing people in meetings saying stuff like, principles before personalities, right? In a crusty old curmudgeonly voice. And I guess I'm one of those crusty old curmudgeons now. And that's true, but it's also been my experience that everyone in Alcoholics Anonymous is an example. There are those who are an example of what not to be. And there are those who are an example of what you can become. Sobriety and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is the most precious gift that I have ever had in my life. More precious than the birth of my child or any of my many marriages or anything else. Sobriety has to come first. And I have a great responsibility, because a lot of people name drop and tell stories on other people and other things in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I don't believe it's my place to tell your story. It's not my place to say, oh, hi there. Yeah, he and I were in a meeting a couple hours ago or this morning, because guess what? You might not want everybody else to know that you were in another meeting this morning. It's not anybody else's business. And when I do that kind of thing, I am making it everybody else's business who wasn't there, who absolutely wasn't there. So, and when it talks about anonymity as well, Tradition 11, it talks about the level of press, radio, and films. Does not mean that we are anonymous to one another, folks. My name is Jamie Santana, and I live in Lewisburg, Tennessee. And if you come to my area, look me up, and I'll buy you a cup of coffee, and we'll fellowship. I'll take you to a meeting. If one of us goes into the hospital and goes to visit somebody and we don't know their last name, how does the nurses station know how to tell us which way we're going? There are reasons that we do have to know one another's names. But I also want to say that with anonymity, there's something else that goes hand in hand with that, and that is confidentiality. And again, it's not my place to tell your story. What you tell me in private is something that I will take to my grave. That is important to me because confidence is a sacred, sacred trust that should not be broken. So if I go into a meeting somewhere and I say, well, yeah, we did this together, or I tell a story on you from 25 years ago, not only am I violating your anonymity, but I'm also violating the confidence that you entrusted me with. That is a really big thing for me. Last thing I want to say is when I go out into the world, into the public, I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous. But much of the general public in my world knows that I am a member of AA. So therefore, I should not do something stupid like get mad at the courthouse and go drop my trousers on the courthouse steps and show my butt. I need to take great responsibility to protect you and those who have not yet come. Thank you for letting me share.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. And now it is time for our segment of That Ain't in the Big Book. Sometimes we hear things in meetings that don't align with the big book. The topic for tonight is I'm powerless over people, places, and things. Let's hear what the big book has to say about that. Shayla has been so gracious to volunteer, voluntold. Please read from page 122, paragraph 3, starting with years.
Years of living with an alcoholic is almost sure to make any wife or child neurotic.
Thank you, Shayla. As we study, make sure you use your pens and highlighters and rulers. When we use the Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff study guide so that we can stay focused and consistent. After tonight's study, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium. Answers are one sentence in order taken directly from the text. We read the material once, then dissect it through the Q&A, the questions and answers. This helps us to understand and apply the content clearly.
After the study, we open the meeting for comments based on the pages just read. Our purpose here is to stay in the book and let the message do the work. If a share drifts into something better handled with a sponsor, we will kindly point you that way.
Bill W. wrote, sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any AA group.
Now, before we begin the recap, we'll need 5 or 6 volunteers to be our answer readers. Oh, I got 2. All right, and Joanne is going to be our recap reader, starting back at page 60, and she'll go to page 62.
Want me to do it now?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Okay, good evening, family. My name is Joanne. I'm an alcoholic. And like you said, page 60. The first requirement is that we be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, we are almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though our motives are good. Most people try to live by self-propulsion. Each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show. Is forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the player in his own way. If his arrangement would only stay put, if only people would do as he wished, the show would be great. Everybody, including himself, would be pleased. Life would be wonderful. In trying to make these arrangements, our actor may sometimes be quite virtuous. He may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest, and self-sacrificing. On the other hand, he may be mean, egotistic, selfish, and dishonest. But as with most humans, he is more likely to have various traits. What usually happens, the show doesn't come off very well. He began to think life doesn't treat him right. He decided to exert himself more. He become on the next occasion still more demanding or gracious as the case may be. Still, the play does not suit him. Admitting he may be somewhat at fault, he is sure that other people are more to blame. He becomes angry, indignant, self-pity. What is his basic trouble? Is he not really a self-seeker even when trying to be kind? Is he not a victim of the delusion that he can wrestle satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only managed well? Is it not evident to all the rest of the players that these are the things he wants? And do not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate, snatching all they can get out of the show? Is he not, even his best moment, a producer of confusion rather than harmony? Our actor is self-centered, egocentric, as people like to call it nowadays. He is like the retired businessman who lolled in the Florida sunshine in the winter, complaining of the sad state of the nation, the minister who sighed over the sins of the 20th century, politician and reformer who are sure all will be utopic. And if the rest of the world will only behave, the outlaw safecracker who thinks society had wronged him, and the alcoholic who had lost all and is locked up. Whatever our protestation, are not most of us concerned with ourselves, our resentment, or our self-pity? Selfishness, self-centered, that we think is the root of all our trouble, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. We step on the toes of our fellow and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some time in the past, we have made decisions based on self, which later places us in a position to be hurt. So our trouble, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot. Though he usually doesn't think so. Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kill us. God makes that possible. And there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without his aid. Many of us have moral and philosophical conviction galore, but we could not live up to them even though we would have liked to. Neither could we reduce ourselves sinning much by wishing, trying on our own power. We had to have God help. Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you, Miss Joanne. That was fabulous. And Nikki, now it's your turn. Yay.
Okay.
All right, picking up just where Joanne finished, we're going to go to page 63.
Oh, 63. I thought we were going to go to 60.
You're starting at page 62, right? Oh, are you in a different version?
No, I'm in the 4th edition.
Okay, so Joanne should have finished there on 62.
Okay, where did she finish? Because I can't remember.
We had to have God's help.
There we go. Okay.
And then you keep going.
All right.
Up until an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once.
Okay, freedom, then an effect. I am not seeing that.
So the very first sentence is, this is the how and why of it.
Yeah, and what's the last sentence?
It's on page 63.
Uh-huh.
And it should say, this was only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once.
At the very bottom of the page.
I have something totally different.
Interesting.
Okay, wait. Effect sometimes very great one and was felt at once. Okay, I got it.
Perfect.
Sorry, folks.
Don't
Okay.
be. Thank you for your service.
Sure. This is the how and why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It doesn't work. Next, we decided that hereafter, in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He's the principal. We are his agents. He is the father, and we are his children. Most good ideas are simple, and the concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we passed to freedom. When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Being all-powerful, he provided what we needed, if we kept close to him and performed his work well. Established on such footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, as we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and hereafter, we were reborn. We were not at the step 3. Many of us said to our Maker, as we understood him, God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, and I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would have a help of thy power, thy love, thy way of life. May I do thy will always. We thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready, that could at least abandon ourselves utterly to him. We found it very desirable to take the spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional. So as long as we expressed the idea, voicing without reservation, this was only a beginning. Though if honestly, and humbly made an effort, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once. Thank you for letting me be of service.
Excellent. Thank you, Nikki T. Artsy Pickle. I see it changed now. All right. So for what we'll do is we'll go back to the beginning of this week's study. We'll go line by line, unless I tell you otherwise. I'll ask the question, and then I'll go person to person, line by line. All right. So I have Jacqueline, Linda, Jamie, Joanne, and is it Tanya? Or Tanja? Okay, Tanya. Awesome. Okay.
And Shane and Joanne still needs to unmute.
Oh. I think you're doing it. There we go. Okay, cool. So just remember, speak very clearly into your microphones. And if you lose your place, just let me help correct you. Or you can pass. All right, so starting back at page 62, first question goes to Jacqueline. What is the first thing we must do? 2 sentences, please.
This is the how and why of it. First of all, we have to quit playing God.
That's right. Thank you. And Linda, why is that?
It didn't work.
Right. And Jamie, what did we decide?
Next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be our director.
And I'll be coming in with a few comments, and here's the first one. A director gives directions. That is precisely what is in this book, the directions for recovery.
Yes, thank you. And Joanne, if he is the principal, what are we?
He is the principal. We are his agent.
Absolutely. And Tanya, if he is the father, what are we?
He's the father, and we are his children.
Right. And Jacqueline, this is a 3-part question, but still 1 sentence. What are most good ideas? What does this decision prove to be? And through which we pass to what?
Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of a new and triumphant art through which we pass to freedom.
Excellent. Thank you. And Linda, what happens when we become serious about this program?
When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed.
Yes. And Jamie, what did we now have?
We had a new employer.
Indeed. And Joanne, this is a 3-part question. Still only 1 sentence. A, he is what? B, what will our new boss promise to do? And C, what must we do?
Being all powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and perform his work well.
Yes.
That means to follow the directions he provided us through the first 100.
Thank you. And Tanya, establish on this footing what is promised. 2 sentences, please.
Thank you so much. Established on such footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life.
Yes. And Jacqueline, as we feel the new power flow in, what else is promised?
As we felt new power flow in,
as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of His presence, we began to lose our fears of today, tomorrow, and the hereafter.
Yes. And Linda, what? We are what?
We were reborn.
Yes.
And I've got 2 comments. The first, remember that Dr. Silkworth stated we could recreate our lives through the application of our program. And this being our basic text, it will tell us when to take a step, how to take a step, what the results will be. From time to time, remind us why we must take that step.
Yes. And Jamie, are we now at the turning point and ready to take step 3?
We are now at step 3.
When do we take step 3? Is it after we are convinced of the ABCs? Carefully examine this prayer to understand its meaning.
Yes, and Joanne, 2-parter, still 1 sentence. I give myself to whom and for what purpose?
Many of us said to our Maker, we understood Him. God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt.
What had you given yourself to previously? Had alcohol destroyed everything worthwhile in your life?
And Tanya, 2 parts, 1 sentence. What do I want relief from, and why would I want to be free of my selfishness?
Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will.
And Jacqueline, what else do I want to be free of? Why do I pray that they will be removed?
Take away my difficulty, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of that power, that love, and that way of life.
Yes. And Linda. I tried to skip you. I'm so sorry. How long do I really want to do His will?
May I do Thy will always.
Notice there is no amen at the end of this prayer. This prayer is the invitation to God to come into our lives and help us in our recovery. This prayer starts the cycle of 5 consecutive steps, and the amen will come at the end of the 7-step prayer, completing what we start with this 3rd-step prayer.
Yes. And Jamie, what must we do before taking this step?
We thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready, that we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to Him.
Yes. And Joanne, how do we take this step? 2 sentences.
We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor.
1 more sentence for me.
Okay, but it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand.
Yes, thank you. And Tanya, must we pray this prayer exactly as written? And if we reword it, can we leave out part of the meaning?
The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we express the idea, voicing it without reservation.
Yes, thank you. And Jacqueline, if every action begins with a decision, are we now ready to begin? If honestly and humbly prayed, what will be the results?
This was only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, an effort, sometime a very great one, was felt at once.
Oh, very great. Thank you all so much. So now what we will do is go back. Woo! If I can find my script. Crazy, who wrote the darn thing? Let's see here. All right. Now the meeting is open for sharing. So if you have experience with the pages read tonight, please share. Just a reminder to stay on topic and mindful of your time. You'll see a 5-minute timer at the top of the screen. Absence of profanity offends no one. And we are now open for comments, questions, observations, and spiritual experiences based on the study material. We'll call on you in the order your hands are raised. And if I don't have any hands, I go for the first smile. Oh, Dennis! Only if you want to. I just joke. Would you like to come in and share with us?
Yes, I would. I sure would.
Yay!
I could. You know what? Every time I read this, and there's the selfish. The word you use the word self-centered. We use the word selfishness, self-centeredness. We use self-seeking, and they seem to be, and all the selfish, self-centeredness, and self-seeking. And I looked it up, and it seems that there's a big difference between being selfish and self-centered and self-seeking. And I always thought it was the same thing. So it was interesting tonight that as we read that to look at it. The way the selfishness doesn't mean, the way it was explained to me that I can remember it, is that selfish, when you're selfish, if a group of people are sitting around a table and they're eating cookies out of a plate, and there's only one cookie left, the selfish person will take it after everybody's had their share. That's a selfish person. And a self-centered person is somebody that all they do is talk about themselves. I only talk about their relationship with cookies and whatever it might be. It's all about themselves. You see, when I put it into the cookie situation, it makes sense. And self-seeking means the whole thing. When I sat down there, before I sat down, I decided that I was going to eat all the cookies I could, and I was going to tell everybody how important or how much I know about cookies. So that explains to me why it's used in several different manners, the words selfish, self-centered, and self-seeking. Thank you.
I don't know that it's ever been explained to me that way. Very grateful for that. Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness. Dun, dun, dun. All right, well, I guess I'll share then. Oh, wait, did I see in a hand? That's a Sheila hand. That's sweet baby. Come on in, honey. Maybe.
Was it Sheila
Sheila
or Tanya?
It was me. Oh, it was Tanya?
Oh, I saw another hand.
Wow. This is the first, it's everything for me. I'm not going to be able to speak long, luckily, but everything for me is a third step issue. It all comes down to the third step. And I was so excited when I got to this step because I wanted that light, that freedom, that joy so badly when I walked into the rooms. And I saw that all the other steps, all the steps are continuity. They're contingent on that third step. The third step is lived in every moment and every second of our lives. It's never not there. Our constant conscious contact with God is 24 hours, 24/7, every day that we don't drink. And that's what when I take a sponsee through the steps, it's a beautiful, intimate experience every time because when you read it, I have my sponsees and I had to do what I did. My sponsor had me memorize the prayer then break down each line, and then paraphrase each line, and then write my own version of it. This is all after we read it together. I had to read it, go home, and do that homework, and really to understand it. In the beginning, at first, it was just when I memorized the prayer, the thy and the thee, and I'm an English teacher. I understand what the words mean, but it personalized it to me, and it really helped me understand that intimacy with God and that quiet moment. When I wrote my own prayer in a Dear God format, and then to just go over with a sponsee line by line is just so important. And then when we finished, we went out to. I've done the third step so many times that I'll just end with. We always went out. We invited other people with us. Sometimes it was just me and the sponsor and I, and sponsor and me, and we went out to a beautiful tree, or we found just a beautiful spot in nature, and it was, as it said in that paragraph, that light, that light that just shot out at us. It was just so beautiful. It's such a new awareness, and it sticks. It sticks, and you stick and stay. So, the third step is, and that prayer is the prayer I've also said with my sponsors, friends who were passing on their last moments of breath, or even when one of my best friends was a sponsee, turned out to be like my sister, as she had a major stroke, but she could actually move her lips with the prayer as I said it. And I said it when I fell the other day in my screaming pain 10 scale pain. I said that prayer, not out loud, in my head. And I said, God, what am I supposed to be learning? Teach me. So, giving my thoughts and my life to something, but that means I have to have total unfaltering faith. And that's number one, 100%. That and the honesty and surrender. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. And Tanya, I'm sorry if I missed your hand first, but thank you.
No problem. Good evening, Tanya Alcoholic. Very grateful to be here. Very grateful to be sober, and very grateful to be alive. Thank you, Serenity Pickle. I'm sorry I have to say it's so adorable. And I'm not a member, so I was thinking, what would be my name? And I would call myself Crunchy Pickle. There you go. I just wanted to share that. If I may, please just reread a couple sentences on page 63. And it says, as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn. Every time I read these words, I get these goosebumps. I feel it in my body. To me, it tells me that I am unconditionally loved, that I have peace today. I have serenity. I'm free. I don't have to struggle as I used to. I'm free today. And that's the most beautiful feeling that I have ever experienced in my life. Not to have that mental obsession, not to be chasing next drink, not to be sick because of that, because I got very, very sick. And I had to go through liver transplant 3 years ago. And that's what alcoholism does. At least that's what it did to me. It almost killed me, and I'm still here thanks to this program. Thank you guys so much. I hope everybody have a good night and enjoy your sobriety. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Excellent. Larry, you look so inquisitive over there.
Hey, I'm Larry, and I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. Every time I read this portion, I'm reminded how this portion is written, and how the steps and the directions are given in the book. You know, today, even tonight, I picked up a new sponsee, and that asked me to sponsor him, and I'm always amazed at when somebody asks you, and I, as I'm going over the things that I asked and want them. I don't ask them to do anything. I share with them that I'm going to be going over the readings and the steps line by line with them, and we're going to be talking about these things. I shared with them about the first step, how that, the first step is in two parts, and it's very important for him to understand. It seems like everybody that has ever asked me to sponsor him has no problem. They always say, "Yeah, I'm powerless over alcohol. I understand. I'm powerless over alcohol," and they don't understand the meaning behind what that actually means, and how it's in two parts, and all that takes place. I said, the big book tells us that first step is what the only step that you really have to do perfectly. And I shared with him, I said, because the first two steps prepare you for the third step, which is the catalyst of everything else in the other 12 steps happen, and that is the spiritual side of this program. Is you have to understand, and you have to know, and be ready for what's going to take place and what you're preparing yourself for. Because what you're doing, you have to really, truly mean. Because if you don't truly mean it, then it's not going to truly going to take place inside your heart and life. And you're not going to have the miracle that is promised, that this program has promised that we can have. And he kind of looked at me, but here it is, this miracle, the fear of yesterday's and today's and tomorrow's that it promises us of, that we can relieve ourselves of. And it starts the promises is already started if we truly understand that we are powerless and that we are unmanageable, and that we understand that there is a God that can and will restore us to sanity if we truly want him to. And then step 3 goes into making that decision to turning our life and our will over to him. And just the beginning, it's just the start of it. It's just the very tip of the iceberg of what takes place in it. But it's just so refreshing to see how the steps are outlined and the way it's outlined in this program, and I'm thankful for it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Larry. Jacqueline.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline M, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I'm just so grateful for this meeting and the way we just take our time and go through line by line and read over it and answer the answer the questions that's presented to us. And I've been told that the big book give us warning, directions, and promises here in the big book. So it's up to the individual to heed to that. And I like when we read. It's telling me. The warning right here on page 62 is telling me about how self manifests in all different areas in my life. I want things to go my way. When things don't go my way, what I do, and all of this. But it says down here, and I like going over the big book because the more I go over the big book, it gives me a brand new set of lenses. Where it says, neither could we reduce our self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on our own willpower, and how much I've tried to do that. And it says we had to have God's help. It's telling me here I have to have God's help. I have to stop, like we read earlier. It says any life ran on self-will can hardly be a success. And for a long time in Alcoholics Anonymous, I wasn't seeing the results. My life wasn't a success. And I like to say I was just running around with untreated alcoholism, and it just tells me, I have to get rid. I have to get rid of this stuff, and I can't do it on my own power. I need God's help, but now I have to put some work in it too. I just can't. I'm sitting in this chair, and if this room catch on fire, I can't say, God, please help me. I have to find the closest exit and jump out that window if I don't want to get burned up. It's just pretty much simple. I have to do some work too. But then when we get down here, and I wrote in my book, because I think Trisha, somebody read it, it says, okay, this is the how and why. So it's giving me directions right here. This is the how and why. And then she said, I don't know what she read, but I wrote on the side, she said, it goes on, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. Next, we decided hereafter in the drama of life, God was going to be our director. And she said, a director gives us direction, right? And he is the directions, right? And then when we went on page 63, here we go right here, and I don't know who read this, and this is a promise. It's telling me if my director is giving me direction, if I follow these directions, here is the promise, right? That promise followed his direction. I got this on the side. He provides what we need if, and I like to use if as a condition. You can do it if it's a condition. You can do it, or you don't have to do it. But if you do it, here's the results. If you don't, here's the result. So it says if we kept close, kept close to him and perform his work well, and then it goes on, and then it says we began to feel new power flow in as we enjoy peace of mind, as we discover we can face life successfully. And I like this part down here. And I'm sorry, well, I'm not going to apologize why I'm doing this, but then it says, we are now on step 3, and then it goes on with the third step prayer, but on the side, and I don't know who read this, but, and they answered this. It says, okay, how long do I want to do his will? Something like that. May I do his, how long? Yeah. May I do his will always. And it's telling me, and I got, how long do I want to do his will? I want to do it always. That's what I got. And I mean, it was just a revelation just a while ago, and I'll keep coming back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Miss Trish, toe tapping.
Hey everybody, I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. And I also want to touch on that line. And it really offended me when I first came in. First of all, we had to quit playing God. And I'm like, I know I'm not God. I'm not trying to play God. And I'd go on and on and on. But one day I was reading and I had a dictionary next to me. It's like I'm looking up everything, even the words that I thought I knew. And it said play is to engage in imaginative pretense. And I'm scratching my head. It's like, well, I think I know what pretense is. So I looked that one up. Pretense is an attempt to make something false appear real. So that's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to take the false thing of me being God and pretending, imagining that I was God throughout my entire life as I lived in my self-will, trying to control me, you, and everything around me. And why did I have to quit playing God? It doesn't work. And it never will work. And I had to step back and allow God to be my director. I am now under new management. I am no longer the one who manages. God is. I get up and I ask my director for that direction each day. And then I do my best to follow it. I was walking out the door today. I'm on spring break from school and I had a phone call, and then I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and my son's like, I thought today was your day off to do nothing. And I looked at him and was like, well, that was my plan. I guess God had different plans as I'm on my way out the door to meet with the sponsee and call somebody else. But it's not up to me some days. I set my plan. I set what I think I'm going to do, what I'd like to do, but I always leave room for God to change that plan or to tweak it a little bit. And, this third step prayer, I used to say it and I would rattle it off something, I never memorized it, but when I was reading it, I would rattle it off just like the people at church growing up. And I say that, it's like, they would rattle off the prayer so fast, I don't think they knew what they were saying. And my sponsor also asked me to sit down and write down each line phrase by phrase on a piece of paper, and then right underneath it, what does it mean to me? What does that phrase mean? And there were some words I looked up, even though I thought I knew what they were. And there were other words that I didn't have to look up. But by sitting down and taking that time, line by line, what does it mean to offer myself to God? What does it mean to be relieved, to ask to be relieved of that bondage of self, that I may better do thy will? And the prayer has a whole new, better, deeper meaning now that I took the time to figure out, what does it mean to me? Why am I saying it? What's the end result? And the end result is for me to get out of management and for me to allow God to be the director so that I can do what God would want me to do, so I could be who God would want me to be, rather than trying to do it all my way, my time, which never worked anyway. And I love the bottom at the end. The wording, of course, was quite optional as long as we express the idea. But if I'm going to use optional words and change them, I still need to know what the idea of that prayer is. And then I can take that prayer. It's almost funny, I've had 3 different conversations around this prayer this week. And with each person, I've sat down with them and said, write it down. What does it mean? Find out what this means to you. Don't just rattle off the words. Pray them and feel them. And make sure you know what it is you're saying so that you can move on. Because if I'm just saying a prayer and I don't know what it is, it's just an empty prayer. It's empty words. It's just like the empty promises I made when I was drinking. But knowing what it means to me, taking that time to do that exercise, really made a big difference in this prayer, and made it a lot easier than to move forward into all that 4th step stuff that I had missed previously. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Miss Trish. Mr. Pickle.
Hello, dear daughter. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and good to be with all of you tonight. And fair warning, I can tell you right now, I'm already going to go over, but I want to tie a few things together that I have come to understand over the years. In tonight's reading, it talked about where did we stand, or in the recap, we stood at the turning point. What is the turning point? The turning point is step 3, where we ask his care with complete abandon. And I absolutely love that. So I'm being asked to do something in step 3 when I get to Alcoholics Anonymous that I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. I have no idea what my will in my life is or has been. And this God person, well, I've been running on the idea of what somebody else always told me God should be. And here's the freedom and responsibility that each and every one of us is given by the decision of step 3, to find a power that will work for us. Your God does not have to look like my God, doesn't have to look like the popes, the Mormon bishops, the Baptist minister, the snake shaker, or anybody else. Just has to be sufficient for the individual to find a power that they can become dependent on. And that's the simplicity and the beauty and freedom of step 3. So, but I still don't know how to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. Now, if you look on page 63, for those of you who still have your book open, and you look at the 3rd step prayer, I'm going to suggest that you look directly across the page to page 62 and look at that paragraph. Could that be some of the foundational stuff of what it is that I'm asking God to relieve me of? The bondage of self, and to give me victory over those things. So, as I read through the book, I always go back and read things of the past that teach me things. But that's not all. That, what I read there on page 62 isn't all of my problem. It's not all of my defects of character. It's only a beginning of the realization of how much I need this power in my life. And I can't invite God into your life, but God can't do anything in my life without the invitation from me. Why? Because I was given free will. So, I love that chapter 5, while it presents the steps to us all in one place, chapter 5 only tells us how to do 2 things. How to take step 3 and how to take step 4. It gives us the prayers that we use, the actions that we take, and shows us with each one of those steps the promises that will result from saying the prayers and taking the actions. I think that's really, really cool. But how do I get there? So steps 4 is a discovery process. And what am I discovering? The truth about me. Resentment has very little to do with my 4th step. Yeah, there's some people I'm mad at. Yeah, there's some situations I'm mad at. Column 3, I find out how it's affected me in the 7 areas of self, so I take a deep look at that, because that's my self-esteem, my pride, my ambition, my fears. It's all of those things, and it gives me a complete bigger picture. And then I get to column 4 and I discover what my defects of character are, why I am selfish, how I've treated others, how I've misused others. And that is the blessing of all of it. And of course I follow it all the way through the what? The sex inventory, which it has nothing to do with the act of sex itself, but has everything to do with how we act in personal relationships and how we treat one another. So it is the discovery process of steps 4 and 5, and then the process of turning my will, and now I've discovered through 4 and 5 what my will in my life really has been. And with steps 6 and 7, what happens is I'm learning how to turn that will in my life that I have found over to the care of God as I understand Him. Trish mentioned earlier in one of the comments that step 3 starts the cycle of 5 steps, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So by the time I have gotten through step 7 and I say the amen, oh, there's my granddaughter. Hi, Isla. 6 and 7, I have now completed the journey, and the amen comes at the end of the 7th step prayer that I started on page 63 with the 3rd step prayer. Man, what freedom there is in that. So I'm gonna close with this, and I do apologize for going over, but this is important too. I rarely refer to the 12 and 12 because the directions aren't in there. It's an expansion on Bill's experience after 16 years. But I want to introduce you to my friends, the spoons. Okay? And we read all about that selfish and self-centeredness on page 60 through 62. Well, the little spoon represents Jamie. And it represents me in my life. The big spoon represents God. And in the 12 and 12, in step 3, in the last page and a half of step 3, it talks about our whole problem is we had been the misuse of our free will. We had been trying to bombard all of our problems in life with our free will. And when we make our free will align and conform with God's will for us, it's the proper use of free will. So in my free will, I'm out here making decisions, bouncing around life, making decisions in thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Step 4 has given me the facts about myself. And what happens? I start drawing myself closer to God as I take 4. I start drawing myself closer to God as I take 5. As I go into 6 and 7, now I am aligning myself with God. And I'm asking, especially at this end of the 7th step prayer, I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which is of no use to you or my fellows. It means I don't get a choice in what my defects of character are. I don't know what's of use to God and what isn't. So this brings me into alignment. Now, I can jump back out here in my free will anytime I want. New car, new guitar, new house, new girl, whatever it is. And when the pain becomes greater than the fear of change and I start swirling the drain, I start to pull myself back into alignment with God. And God's will eclipse mine. This is the place that I have found complete peace and serenity and joy and happiness and love and compassion and forgiveness. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And I just got to do it. You know what happens when I am not in alignment with God, folks? I am forking myself today. And I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
I apologize for going over, but by golly, it had to be said.
So who's gonna be next? Hi, Nikki. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. First of all, the 3rd step is my favorite of all. But Serenity Prayer is there too. When I read this prayer, God, I offer myself to Thee, to build me with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. The self-bondage part, relieve me of self-bondage. that line is extremely triggering for me. Why? Because when I decided not to go forward with medicine, I cocooned myself for a very long time. I didn't know what to do with myself. And that's when the alcohol came in. So self-bondage, to me, is you have a disability. You have an addiction. That alcohol is your poison. So when you, in this prayer, you're hitting bottom to the point that you are asking God to relieve you of your own suffering. What you have brought up and what you've done onto yourself. So we all have some sort of prison, bondage, whatever you want to call it, because it's a very important lesson to learn because it reminds us of how we got to be free and how we can reach the spiritual entity. That's my philosophy here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Who's next? If you're not sure how to raise your virtual hand, just wave your hand at me and I'll see it.
Okay.
It's the dental chair. And that's okay. So sometimes we need the dental chair.
Meditation and reflection time.
That's right.
I was waving my real hand and nobody saw it.
Your camera's off, silly.
Yeah, I know, right? I forgot all about that because I'm sitting over here and half asleep. Good evening, everyone. Gandalf the Red Pickle. And, this is the first prayer that I work with, where I actually get down on my hands and knees and say, God, I surrender to you and everything you are. Please do with me as you're going to, And that's the first step of my serenity. Whenever I came into these rooms, I thought I knew what serenity was. I thought I knew what serendipity was. I thought I knew more than what I thought I knew. But then I just noticed that I knew just a little bit. And by reading this chapter, the things that I learned about myself, about the world, about God, is life-changing. And I started feeling peace in my heart. And then I started listening to those who have come before me and how they got their serenity and their peace. Even though it was just a piece of it, it wasn't until I did my fourth and fifth step, especially my fifth step, but this is a step that I needed to do so that I could actually learn what it was that I had done to other people. And, that's why these steps are in order and stuff, because you have to make peace with God before you can make peace with yourself. And then you move on and you make peace with others. But this whole program is all about making peace for yourself. So, that's all I've got to say, because I got to get out of here momentarily. to go to a step study meeting. So, God bless you guys. We'll see you next week. Be safe, be careful, be loved.
Thank you, Gandalf. We still have time. Who is next? Hi, Linda.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. I like this part because it's the third step, and it's just letting me know. I like the part that says we have to stop playing God. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I didn't know. And reading this big book, throughout the years, I learned that's what I was doing. When I read that now, I laugh. I laugh at myself. But when I first read it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing? This is how I'm offending people. And I felt kind of humiliated. I felt bad about it. And I was talking to someone about it, and I was a couple of years in recovery at that time, and someone said, it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up. This is self-awareness, when you get self-awareness, it's not always a great feeling when you start to become aware of those character defects. But, Bill W., he just had a sense of humor, trying to be the director, annoying people, antagonizing them, and he just talks about us, and it's real colorful how he does it, and I remember it was when some women's meeting was being started, and one lady, she wanted to do everything. She wanted to be the program chairperson, she wanted to be the overall chairperson, she wanted to be the secretary, she wanted to be the treasurer, she wanted to be everything. And me and another girl was saying, she was talking, she said, yeah, she wanted to be the director. And we both started laughing, And it made us think about that, And it's like, this person doesn't realize it. You take one service position. You don't take 10. And then if you take that one service position, nobody needs you telling them what they could do. And what I did is, I had left that meeting. There was so much confusion and nonsense. But what I did is I looked online. I looked in, it was a website. I don't know if it was the GSO. It might have been. And I just got all the definitions of what each service position does. I was taught when I went to college, you look up and you get factual information. You don't go saying something is off the top of your head. Get the facts, And I did that. I gave it to her and I gave it to the other women, and she caught an attitude. She caught an attitude about it. And I was like, this is not a place where I need to be. This is not a meeting that I need to be in. Because of that control, that big shotism, this is how we're going to do things. And it's a collective. It's about the group. It's a group conscious. There's no leaders. This is not a cult, where you can't even question someone, So that makes me, this third step, it makes me think about myself, but it makes me think about that situation with that lady. And I like this third step, and I like what it says, because it's telling me, take a look at yourself before, if you're doing something. And I remember being a project manager, it's hard dealing with people, and getting people together, and you have a project, and you have a timeline. You have to start it, it has to be a middle, and then you have to complete it. You have to complete it. It can't just, that's it. And what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? And I had to use these steps a lot. And I had to understand I'm dealing with adults, and you can't talk to people whatever way you want. Like, oh, I said do this and get it done now. That's how you talk to a kid. That's not how you talk to an adult. So I had to ask, what I did is I asked other people. I said, well, I have a difficult team. How am I supposed to deal with this? And I really think they're not taking me seriously because I'm a woman, and because I'm a brown-skinned woman. And I got different opinions. One person was like, well, just be a BIT. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And one person was like, you have to sit down and talk to your team. And I did that. And, we did meet our goal. People didn't act the way I wanted to, but we did meet our goal. It was success. and I used this third step, and I used the 10th step, and I had to use all of my steps really, just dealing with people, and not trying to be the director. That's the point that I wanted to make. Not trying to be that director, thinking that I'm going to go around telling people what you already know, what your part in this project that we're going to do. You already know. So it's not like I really have to start telling everybody and getting in everybody's business. I'm going to go over too. But it was really hard balancing that. It really was. But if you follow what it says right here in this big book, you won't go wrong. We can't control people. That's true. But you won't go wrong. It won't be a disaster. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Linda. And we've got time for one more. Anybody?
I will try to come in. Shayna, recovered alcoholic. I don't really know that I have a whole lot to say because I don't know that words will kind of justify what I felt tonight with reading with you all. I guess that's what they would call one of the spiritual experiences of the educational. Am I saying that right, Jamie? Yeah. I don't get the big white lights and the bushies, but I get the feelings. Yeah. And where was it? Every time we read and somebody else read it again, I had that feeling of serenity and peace, if ever there was one, to understand. Oh man, now I can't even find it, but that's probably because I'm running here and there and all the places. But I'm just grateful to be here, and I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shayna. And Steph, could you come in and read our closing, please?
Sure thing. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Steph. And here at Lppbbsg Primary Purpose, we have a wonderful way of closing. Since we can't stand around the table and hold hands with each other like we would in a bricks and mortar meeting, we hold our hands up in the screen as we pray out, and that way we can connect as we pray with and for each other. And we'll take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, especially those who may not make it to us. They may die tonight. But also for those who came in and they weren't ready and they left. So a moment of silence, and we'll follow that with the Lord's Prayer. Here's your moment. Thank you. and who brings us from shame to grace if we let him. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Lord in heaven,
hallowed be
hallowed
thy
be
name.
thy name.
Thy
Thy
kingdom
Kingdom
come,
come,
thy will
thy
be
will be
done
done
on
on
earth
on
earth
earth
as
as
it
it
is
is
in
in
heaven.
the heavens.
Give us
Give us
Give
this
us this
day our
day
daily
our
bread,
daily bread,
and forgive us our
forgive us
trespasses,
our
as we
trespasses,
forgive
as
those
we
who
forgive
trespass
those who
against us.
trespass against us.
And lead us
And
not
lead
into
us not into
temptation,
temptation,
but
but
deliver us
deliver
from
us
evil.
from evil.
For thine
For
is the
the
kingdom,
kingdom
the
and the
power,
power
and
and the
the glory,
glory
forever and
forever.
ever. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks,
Thanks, folks.
everybody.
Hey, Kenny, before you leave, you should get that package in a couple of days.
Hey, Jamie.
Thank you, brother.
You.
Oh, thanks,
Thanks for
everybody.
being here, everybody. Great meeting.
Thank
Yes,
you,
it was.
Jacqueline.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night, Kenny.
I love the way that this meeting goes.
Good night,
I love it.
everybody.
All right. Y'all have a good night. See you soon.